Do you need to turn on the recording? Perfect. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm calling this Regional Housing Council meeting to order. It is 4:02 p.m. and we'll get started with introductions. I'm Emily Klaus, RHC Chair and Thurston County Commissioner, and I'm joined here by a number of staff. We have Tom Webster, Alex Purse, Jody Becker, Jackie Velasco, Leah Tangeman, and Elisa Sparkman. We also have AJ May, which she's my executive aide. And we have Caven Hill. Did I miss any staff? All right. Well, then I'll pass it over to Michael.
Thanks very much. Michael Althauser from City of Tumwater. I'm joined by Brad Medrud, our planning director, and Erica Smith-Erickson from our planning department as well. I think that's it from our neck of the woods. I'll go popcorn, Carolyn.
Oh, Carolyn, you're on mute.
Thanks. I just saw Ryan's hand signal. So I'm Carolyn Cox, representing City of Lacey, and we have with us Ryan Andrews, our planning manager, and Jennifer Adams, our housing coordinator. And I will popcorn over to Olympia.
Hi all, Danny Madrone with the Olympia City Council. I'm joined by my alternate, Robert Vanderpool, and I see our staff, Krista Lenson. And I do anticipate we'll have another person or two coming from our staff today. Yelm.
Hi, everybody. It's Gary Cooper, Planning and Building Manager. I look like I'm the only one here at the moment. I don't know if Councilor Johnstone will be here or not, but I'm here for now. And I think that's it, right?
I think so. And then we have some advisory board members. So I will pass it over to Casper.
Hi, my name is Casper. I'm the co-chair for the Homeless Services Advisory Board.
Thanks, Casper. Thanks for joining. Carolyn, I see your hand up. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I just realized that our Director of Planning and Community Development, Vanessa Dolby, is also on this call. So sorry to miss you, Vanessa.
Perfect. Thanks, Carolyn. And thanks, Vanessa, for joining. Do we have other advisory board members present? Okay. And then I think the last introduction, I'll have Sue Mountain pop on if you want to give a quick introduction. And Sue is our facilitator today. Amy was unavailable, but Sue comes highly recommended. And I really appreciate you being here with us, Sue. You can go ahead and give a quick intro if you'd like.
Hi everyone. I am Sue Mountain. I work with Amy Lineker and the Lineker team. And I have worked in state and county government for a really long time. I actually was employed by Thurston County once upon a time, a long time ago. So good to be with you all here today. And I'll be talking with you about the mission statement. So we'll be moving forward with the work already started.
Perfect. Thanks, Sue. And then I also see we were joined by Josh Cummings, Assistant County Manager for Thurston County, and I see Nick Dunning from Lacey as well. Thanks for joining. So we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is approval of the August 27th minutes. Have folks, if anyone would like to put a motion on the table, hopefully folks have had a chance to review those minutes.
Move approval.
I'll second.
All right, second. All in favor of approving the August 27 minutes, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Next on our agenda is public comment. Do we have anyone for public comment?
We did have one person sign up for public comment. It was a Brandon Simmons. I'm not seeing them listed in the attendees, but if any attendee would like to make public comment, if you could please use the raise hand function and we can promote you to allow you to make public comments. So I'll give you just a second anyone of the attendees wants to make public comment, please use the raise hand function. All right, I'm not seeing any raised hands. Does not appear we have any public comment at this time.
All right, thanks, Tom. So then moving right along, we have some discussion kind of following up from last time on the proposal for the Lived Experience Housing Steering Committee and subject matter expert input. And for this one, I'll turn it over to Tom.
Great, thank you, Chair. So following up on the conversation from last month when we brought forth a preliminary proposal around engaging those with lived experience and also bringing in subject matter expertise to provide information on specific subjects to this group. The tech team worked on that, made some revisions based on the input that you provided last month. And so in your packet, there is an updated proposal, and I'm happy to share that if that's helpful. So just highlight a few of the changes. So for both of these, we're proposing to start these in January. Wanted to get through these next couple meetings when we're talking about mission statements, the retreat follow-up discussions. So starting this in the new year. For the LESC, proposing to have a LESC member participate in these meetings and then have them present. So they would participate every month, but they would only have an agenda item every other month where they would provide a brief update on the work of the LESC. The LESC member would receive a stipend for participating in the meeting, which would be covered through the existing contract that we have with the facilitator for the LESC. So that is a high-level overview of that proposal. And on the second component of getting input from service and other housing providers and stakeholders, we would also start that in the new year. We would alternate. So whatever month the LESC item was, or the LESC member presented, it would be the alternate, the off month when the subject matter expert would present. Sorry, I butchered that explanation a little bit. And so this would be a 20 to 30 minute agenda item is what we're proposing, to invite 2 or 3 subject matter experts from the community stakeholders to focus on a specific topic of interest to this group. We will provide them 2 to 4 guiding questions to really frame that conversation and making it clear that they would be instructed not to lobby or advocate for funding to the body. We have proposed 3 possible topics to start off the new year with, around looking at policy changes at the federal level, impacts on tariffs on affordable housing development, and then updates on federal rent assistance. Those are really just suggestions. If there's other topics that you're interested in, happy to include those. It's really whatever this group is most interested in hearing about. We know these are also big topics and they're not going to be fully covered in 20 to 30 minutes, so wanting to make sure we also have topics that kind of are right-sized for that time period. This is really intended to be informational, educational, not anticipated that you would take any action related to any of these items, but really just to kind of get a sense of impacts that stakeholders are feeling in the community. Happy to, and so really just wanted to open this up for discussion. If this is something you'd like to move forward with, if you have continued suggestions for revisions to this, and also on the suggested topics. Really, those are just putting those out as suggestions, but open to taking other ideas that you want to hear about. Sorry, the last thing I'll say is we did revise it a little bit to make it broader, not just providers, but we've also talked about reaching out to perhaps hearing from other jurisdictions from outside of Thurston County or other subject matter expert stakeholders throughout the community. So I wanted to make sure that this was not just solely providers, but kind of a broad base of stakeholders depending on the topic, whatever makes sense.
Great, thanks, Tom, for that background and context and the creativity that kind of went into the proposal before us today. I think you definitely took, well, you and staff took the conversation from the last meeting and really implemented some of the thoughtful points that were raised. So I really appreciate it. Does anyone have any feedback or questions? Carolyn?
Just one, and this is not about any individual at all, but when we have subject matter experts, even though they're not allowed to, advocate for money, I just think I would like to see them scheduled not at a time when we're working through the RFPs and funding applications, just for the sake of appearances. So if we can kind of look at scheduling other topic people during that kind of critical window there, I think it would look better.
Thanks, Carolyn. Danny?
I think overall the structure that has been developed by the tech team sounds good to me. I'm looking at the 3 suggested topics, and I want to dig in on that a little bit, because I think about, like, okay, what will we do with all this information? What is our sphere? What is our sphere of control, influence, where there's something that we either need to do to respond, or something that we need to, be prepared for in some way, something that we can do something about, or will be directly impacted. So when I look at the first one, impacts of changes in funding and policy at the federal level of homeless service providers. For me, that thinks of like the executive order that came out and all the requirements that may come down onto grant programs that are used locally that might change, that might require that we change how services are provided. That's something that I think we need to be prepared to respond to. I think the one on impacts of tariffs is a little bit nebulous. There's all sorts of things that impact the cost of building housing, and we could build it out in that way, and it would kind of be like, okay, we have that information. What are we going to do with it? I think I would be more interested in hearing about gaps of funding, because there's different changes of funding and policy for federal stuff. There's also state stuff, and I've heard from more and more nonprofits around just sudden significant gaps in funding and a direct impact to local services. So I think that's something that we should certainly be aware of, especially as we're going through funding recommendations, is knowing where the serious points of pain are. And I know that they're everywhere. And then I'd be very curious to get an update on federal rental assistance voucher programs, just to know, have that information ready in terms of, how many people might lose their Section 8 funding, how that whole landscape is changing. I know that Section 8 funding is often used to leverage building units of permanent supportive housing and things like that. So it would be good for us to understand, I think, the full universe on that. But those are my thoughts on the topics that are suggested.
Thank you, Danny. That is really, really thoughtful. I appreciate that. Michael, I saw your hand.
Yeah, I was actually just going to make a really similar comment that Danny made about particularly the tariff piece. That one, like I think as cities, and as the county, we have like some jurisdiction to be able to try to impact the cost of housing to sort of make up for gaps in terms of fees and other things like that. But really, our influence, I think, is more informal rather than directive. And I'm not sure, to Danny's point, like what we would really be able to glean from that in terms of an action item. It seems like a good thing to know, but not something that we really have like direct control over or a stake in. But I think the structure set up by the tech team looks great to me. I'm excited for the conversations to happen.
Thank you. Yeah, as far as the topics, I also feel like, I really appreciate these 3 topics. I think that there's a wide variety. I agree with like everything Danny said, and that Michael echoed. I do have a question for Carolyn. When you say, I hear your concern about timing of having certain representatives from certain groups that might be applying for funding. And I'm wondering, because you mentioned maybe like during the actual funding cycle while we're making decisions, just being thoughtful around who is coming to represent the population of subject matter experts or people with lived experience. And we do have like our regular funding cycles, but we also have things like our emergency fund and funding things that come up kind of throughout the year. So I'm just kind of curious on your thoughts, like if you could clarify the time frame that you are mostly interested in us looking at other topics.
Yeah, I only meant to confine it to that window, generally February, March, April-ish, that we, are working on putting out the RFPs and then getting applications from the social services agencies and evaluating them. And again, this is probably my journalistic conflict of interest ethic presenting itself, but I just wouldn't want there to be any blowback on the Housing Council from either the public who think maybe we're playing favorites here, or from other agencies who weren't allowed to give a presentation during this window. So it's optics is my concern.
Thank you. You answered my question. I appreciate that. Danny.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on what I said around learning more about federal rental assistance. I actually don't recall if there is still state rental assistance funding. But if there is, I think we should package those two items together. And, yes, let's think about the things happening at the federal level, but the state level as well.
Good point.
Yeah, really good point. Does anybody know if the state is offering rental assistance? Is that something that we should look into, or does anyone know off the cuff?
I will say that we do receive funding from Commerce specifically for homeless prevention, which is rental assistance funding. So yes, there is specific funding from the state that is dedicated for rental assistance for those at risk of homelessness.
Okay. And then just for my awareness and maybe for folks who are listening, where could individuals in the community look for those services if they were in need?
So you can start with Thurston County's Office of Housing and Homeless Prevention website. We have a rental assistance page. We do have, I'll kind of put in a plug for our providers that we funded this past year. Catholic Community Services is our single adult provider for rent assistance, Family Support Center for families, Community Youth Services for youth needing rental assistance, and then Cielo is standing up a program to support our Spanish-speaking community with rental assistance.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for having that information readily available. I appreciate you. So any other thoughts on this proposal? Are there any questions people would need answered before we move forward with implementing this component of the agenda? All right. Well, so the proposal is to obtain input from people with lived experience of homelessness and providers. So if there's a motion, we could go ahead and move this forward and look forward to these conversations in the near future.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Alrighty, then I will call for the vote. This one I'm gonna do a roll call vote so that we have it clear for the minutes. So let's see how smoothly I can do this. I'll go with Lacey first. So Carolyn,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Robert,
Are you talking about Robert from Olympia?
Robert Vanderpool, yes. Thank you.
So I'm the voting representative from
okay.
Olympia.
I had like a very I with a question mark attached.
No, thanks, Danny. I was using the agenda, the minutes from last time. So
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
Yeah.
And thanks,
Okay.
Robert, for knowing my mind on that one.
Thank you. And then my vote is aye as well. And then we have Gary. Is Gary still here? Yes, Gary Cooper.
I'm
There
here,
is
but
an,
I don't think I'm authorized to vote on the matter.
Oh, you're right. David's not here.
Yeah.
Okay, well then that motion passes unanimously with the folks who are here and eligible to vote. Thank you all for that. All right, so moving to the next agenda item. Now we're gonna turn it over to Sue. to facilitate our post-retreat discussion on the mission. And Sue did a great introduction earlier. I just want to kind of kick things off by saying, I know that this was a hard, component of the retreat to schedule. So I really appreciate everybody's patience and flexibility and willingness to make this work. We're going to do this component of the retreat virtually, and hopefully people will feel encouraged to engage. I want to encourage folks. I know it's on the spot, but I want to encourage folks to turn their cameras on if you can. I understand not everybody might be able to do that, but I'd like to get as much participation as we can, as close as we can to being in person. When we were in person, we had really, really great, robust discussions. We had participation from everybody, even people who, maybe don't have a lot of room on the agenda to speak up during our normally scheduled meetings. And I just want to say, I want to hold space for everybody who might have something to say. Don't feel like you can't speak up. We really value everybody's perspectives. And so I appreciate those people, all of you, for turning your cameras on. And I look forward to seeing where we can go with this conversation. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sue.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. And thank you, Commissioner Klaus and Leah and Tom, for being amazing in planning and preparing for this conversation today, because it's really an extra challenge to, I was going to say emulate, but that may be not the best word because it really doesn't, but give an opportunity for interaction in a way similar in some respect to the retreat that you all participated in. And I had the opportunity also to meet with Amy Leneker, so I heard about what happened there and how things worked. And I know that you did activities with flip charts. And so we are going to have a new experience for some, and hopefully most have access to, it'll be interesting to know how this is going to work in every situation, because I understand some of you may be on your phones. So we will be creative, and I will certainly be flexible, and I have amazing support from both Leah and Tom to make magic happen. So that's what we're going to do today. Utilizing whiteboard. Is there in chat? I'm going to see if I can find chat here. Can you tell me what your experience with whiteboard is, from 0 being no experience to 5 being you are an expert and you can teach me some things?
Yeah, and actually, Sue, we don't have in a webinar, we don't have the chat.
Okay,
feature.
perfect. Well, fist to 5 works too. So hand voting, since many of you are on screen. So 0, 0, 2, 2. So not much. Oh, 3. Okay.
No.
Oh, that was 0. 3. Okay. So the 3 is maybe our high end. So this is good. We have an opportunity to practice and learn together. And my hope is that maybe this can be a tool that you might discover that you want to use in the future, because it can be a really handy tool for doing a very similar type activity with the dot voting and collaborating even remotely. So that is my hope for today. And thank you for the opportunity to be here, facilitating, coaching, just creating value for organizations and teams. That is my most favorite thing. So appreciate you all and the good work you do, and the opportunity to be here with you. And I will put a plug in to say, stay tuned, because coming soon to a meeting near you, you'll have the opportunity to work on your values also, and your governance. So those are 2 meetings that are still ahead for you. But today is really about the mission statement specifically, and a revisit, a view back to the vision statement that was created in May. And I don't know about you, but May both feels like yesterday and a long time ago. So if that's true for you too. So why don't we jump in with the whiteboard? And Leah, if you would start with the agreements. And I understand at that May meeting, you have had a conversation about what you will have as your agreements as you have these conversations. So vision, mission, values, and governance. And so what are the agreements that you want to have moving forward with the way that you interact with each other in these meetings and these conversations? What you commit to, what you commit to not do, and then also when you don't get it right, how will you come back? How will you remedy those things? And what we're going to start with, and I'm thinking Leah left, so
Yep, we're starting off with some technical difficulties. We'll get it figured out. So
I'm gonna rejoin. Sorry.
Fabulous.
So I'm gonna pop out and pop back in.
Perfect. We have any learning experience. There's can be a need for flexibility. So oh, beautiful. Look at that. Well, I don't know. Did you do that, Tom?
Not intentionally.
Okay. Maybe Leah did without meaning to. I wanted to show you this anyway. So, oh, actually looks like Erica was the one who started this, is in presenting right now. So, Erica, that's great. Let's just keep it here on a blank. Okay. And looks like now we've got Tom.
Can you see this now?
Yes.
Okay.
So I want to orient you first to the screen. So the idea with a whiteboard is it is a whiteboard. Like it is something that you would write like with pens and sticky notes in a very similar format, but electronically. And so a whiteboard it's meant to be infinite. So there's parameters that go on forever. So if you are in the wrong area are you okay, Leah? I can pause talking.
Good to go.
Okay, good. So if you end up in the wrong area, if you zoom out too far, in too far, you can lose track of where you are. So starting on this screen, I was going to start at the 12 o'clock zone, and that says following Tom Webster, and it says stop. So following is a good thing because we are able to be on the screen in the same zone space where Tom is. So we're able to see where Tom is right now and where Tom might go. So that's a good thing to be where the presenter is. You can choose to stop if you want to move. You can still move someplace else, and I'll show you how to do that. But following is a good thing when there's a presentation happening. So down in the lower right corner of the screen, see the little hand? That one is not a raise hand. That one is actually the way that you can on the screen. So if you click on that, and then you click on the screen, you are grabbing and moving the screen as you wish. And that should just be changing your view, not anyone else's. So I think, Tom, you just did the grab and move. And so we could see that a little bit, how you shifted slightly. Farther to the right, you see the plus minus and percentages. That zooms in or out on the screen. So if you can't read them because they're too tiny, the text is too small, you can zoom in, or you can zoom out if you want to get a bigger picture and see what else is on the screen. And sometimes that can be really helpful when you're collaborating together and adding new cards. So speaking of, shifting over then to the left, if you see that little square with the corner that's folded over, it looks like it's meant to look like, that is how you add a sticky note. And depending on, I think I'm on a Mac, so I think it might be different on a Mac, but depending on what you're using, you can click on that little sticky note box, that little icon, and you get a little menu of sticky note colors, and you can choose one, and then you can click on the screen and add a new one. There you go. Somebody just added a yellow one. So that's how sticky notes are added. Is everybody with me so far? Okay. So the next one I wanted to show you, It may be where you can see it, depending on the size of your screen, or you may need to use the ... to see more. And that more screen will take you to an additional group of icons. The one to choose here is the smiley face, stickers and emojis. And what we're going to do today with stickers and emojis is use the check mark for voting. So that check mark, again, for me with a Mac, it's click on the check mark, click on the screen. Yours may be slightly different, but similar kind of functionality there. So who has questions? Because that was fast. All right, fast and fabulous, apparently, because you all, either that or you're just fast learners.
Good job.
Well, so here's the test now, right? So I would like for you to have a look at that vision statement. So if you are remembering the work you did to create it, you can see now on the screen that the vision statement that was chosen, that you all had input on, was that everyone in Thurston County has stable shelter or housing that they feel is safe and the services they need to thrive. So that was the vision statement that was selected. So looking at that vision statement, is there a word or phrase, a couple words that really connect for you with your why? The why of why you are here, what's meaningful to you. So if you would choose a sticky and put it on the screen, and then click into the sticky, you'll be able to write your response into that. So I'll be quiet and just let you do that. And I can say it again, just in case that was confusing at all, because there were multiple steps. But if you go and click in the sticky, put a sticky on the screen, and then click into the sticky, you'll be able to type your response. And again, what connects to your why? What part of the new vision statement connects to your why? And I'll give everybody a chance before I start highlighting some. And feel free to ask a question, use the raise a hand function and we'll help to clear it up. Or also if you're challenged because of your setup, please do raise your hand also. And I am happy to just take your response verbally too. Give everybody just another minute or two. All right, so I see stable shelter, services they need to thrive, safe, stable, safe. Everyone has housing or shelter, services, thrive, stability, stable, stable. Yep, there's a theme there, right? Safe. We all have shelter, thriving community, stable place to live. Safety, stable housing and can access services. Beautiful. Oh, they can better exit our homeless response systems. So that really connects to a why. Amazing. Well, I want you to get the opportunity also to do voting. So if you would, so everybody deserves to feel safe, to feel a sense of belonging and safety. Great. If you would now, with the little smiley face, pick up that green check mark and vote for someone. Vote for your own, vote for someone else's. Pick a sticky to put your check mark on. You can see that the black one has a check mark already. And the pink one over there, the thriving community. So if you put the check mark onto the sticky, then we can see it kind of as a vote. And not that we're going to, change anything based on this voting, but it's just an opportunity to practice that function.
And do we just choose one?
Well, on this one, you can choose as many as you want to, because we're not really voting, but we're going to do voting in a minute. But yeah, thank you for that question. This is really just an activity to practice two things: to reflect on the vision statement and to really see what it is about it that's meaningful to you, and then also to practice this functionality. So I see lots of votes down in the thriving community and stable place to live.
Sue, I can't locate this check mark thing. What am I supposed to be doing?
So on the left side in the column of little icons, you'll either see a smiley face or you won't. If you don't see the smiley face in that list on the left, then choose the 3 dots at the bottom.
I see it. Got it. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. No, I really appreciate you asking. This can be a little bit like trying to mouse with your elbows when you haven't used it before. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a learning curve to everything. And I just feel really happy to get to give you a tour. It's like a new toy. And hopefully you don't hate it by the end of our time together. Hopefully you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. All right, any question, anyone want to add anything with their voice and raising a hand if they weren't able to make this work? All right, moving on. So Leah, if you wouldn't mind taking us to the next, the agreements slide. So like I said earlier, but this is great that we started here anyway. These are some example agreements that you can use in these conversations where you're talking with Amy or I to really make sure that you have agreements together, so it really allows and creates those moments of participation that Emily was talking about earlier. So how can you commit to things to do together and commit to things to not do together, but also to fix the hiccups when there's bumps along the way? So this is a list, and it's a list of examples for you to reflect on. You can agree or disagree with them. And I'm going to give you I know it was in your pre-read, but if you weren't able to get to it, I'm going to give you about a minute to just have a look at it and give it a read, and we'll come back and talk about it. And I'll start a timer, so it'll be quiet for a minute. Well, that was fast. I'm not a very fast reader, so I may not have had time to get it all that read. But how about anything that stands out to you that either that you really strongly agree with, or that you find challenging that we should modify. Emily.
Thank you. I just actually have a question. My screen says following paused and it has a button to rejoin. Is that something I should press?
Are you able to see the, probably yes,
Okay.
to rejoin? If you, are you seeing the agreements on your screen?
Yep, I see it.
Yeah, it's just if we were to move, you wouldn't follow.
Okay.
But
That's
now,
kind of, thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Mine says following Leah.
Yep, that's because Leah's the presenter right now. So
Okay.
Leah's large and in charge. So
Perfect.
anybody have any challenge or clarification for anything? Not voting in the same way that you vote for other things here, but I assume your silence means consent. And so great, we'll move forward with these. These can be your agreements for these conversations. And again, those 2 sessions that are still upcoming. I think October and November, is that right, Tom? Okay. 2 more coming down the road. Awesome. All right, so I know that mission statements, vision statements may be something that you have done before, maybe many, many times. Might be old news. I think the opportunity is that it really is an opportunity every single time. It is an opportunity to really connect with what matters, and to guide even beyond your moment of participating in this group, to guide even into the future. It's kind of a legacy builder. Not that missions can't change over time, but you really are setting the course for what this group is going to be doing in the next span of time. I found a quote about mission statements that I really liked, and it says, "A good mission statement shows team members how their work will improve the lives of their customers, their community, and perhaps even the world." And I thought that was especially relevant for all of you because that is what you do day in and day out. So thinking about it being a bigger moment, a bigger opportunity than just another conversation at the end of a long day, really creating something that's meaningful. So that is my challenge and opportunity for you all. Thinking about what it is that you want to communicate to the community and to also decision makers, not just you as decision makers, but also others as well. Collaborating to build a mission statement is really about steering this group in the right direction with a shared purpose and transparency. And really, it gives you a starting point for understanding. And so really that shared language, shared experience. And so as you were encouraged earlier today, I really encourage you again to lean into this opportunity and to see it as bigger than this moment. So in the retreat recap, I also wanted to highlight this for you on page 3 in this document. And I know that you maybe didn't print it, but if you have it in front of you, if not, no worries, because I'm going to read you this little bit. I wanted to give you the definition for what mission is, and then a little snapshot of the conversation that you all had about it at your May retreat. So mission, your mission is the what you do to make the vision real. So once you've already had that vision, what you imagine as the future and what you're creating, this is the what of your efforts. It defines your focus and purpose and the work you're doing every day. So at the retreat, you identified some areas. It says 4 categories: funding, policy, advocacy, and other. And I just wanted to highlight that for you again, just to bring that again to your attention, because May was a long time ago, but thinking that is the place that you're in that moment, and really what you had kind of as a target at that time. Thoughts and questions about that? All right, well, let's take a look at this then. I wanted to highlight for you the idea of the mission. You see that again, that little definition up at the top, but this slide is also, actually it's not a slide, this is on the whiteboard, and it's on page 2 of your, let's see, mission statement. So some sample mission statements. These are some Washington State, I was going to say local, but kind of local groups. And the components that we're going to look at today for the mission statement that you're going to create, it's about service, the audience, the purpose, the goals, and the benefit that you create in your work together. So that, if you would look for that, listen for that, I'm going to read a couple of these. Something else I wanted to highlight for you is kind of how different these all are. They're not the same. They can include or not include some of those components, right, that I just listed. They can be long, they can be short. Generally speaking, I think to be most effective, the more concise and precise that a mission statement is, the more effective it is, because people know what the what is, right? They're able to even speak it. Like, that's pretty amazing, because sometimes it's just like we just do this activity, it goes on the wall, that's it, we don't pay attention to it ever again. But if you can bring this back and kind of bring yourselves back to this again and again, that's really where you're going to find those opportunities for success, really driving you towards the goals that you have. So just to read a couple of these for you, I know that you can read them yourselves, but just to hear them out loud. Gates Foundation says, our mission is to create a world where every person has the opportunity to live a healthy, productive life. Communities Rise, I'll look at that one, fosters movements to build power in communities impacted by systemic oppression. To create an equitable system, we pursue cross-sector collaboration and provide capacity building and legal services for community organizations and small businesses. That's a lot packed into those 2 sentences. And then Thurston County, to create a community that promotes health, commerce, and environmental protection with transparency and accountability. Anything stand out to you when you hear those out loud? Yeah, Casper.
Specifically words like foster. Yes, that is create, but also specific words in this and other statements like pursue. That feels just passive enough to sometimes not create that accountability in my perspective.
So let me make sure that I understand. So when it says something like foster, it's kind of, it isn't as direct or action oriented. It's not specific, a specific action.
No, foster, I do understand it's creating and growth, but specifically things like pursue seems more like following rather than generating.
Oh.
So just noting specific words like that, like pursue is a ideal that we look at, but what is the action in that mission? Sometimes I find subtle words like that are really good at promoting ideals without actually living up to them.
It like you use the word accountability, it's really passive, and so really having it being action oriented and accountability focused. Like, this is the thing that we're making happen, not because somebody else is doing it and we're just kind of saying it's ours.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Really appreciate that, Casper. Emily.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, my attention got split for a second, and I was wondering what you were referring to as far as the language that sounds passive.
Pursue.
the word pursue. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Michael.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. And I think kind of on the opposite end of that spectrum, some of the language that I appreciate is from the food bank, where it says our mission is to eliminate hunger. Like it's incredibly clear, like, right from the outset, like what they're trying to eliminate hunger. And then the rest of the statement sort of provides additional layers of detail. But by reading that, you know exactly what the what is they're trying to do. I just like that it's very plain spoken in that sense and very direct.
Nice. And it's also very aspirational too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and inspirational too. I would say both of those things. Carolyn.
Well, I echo Mike's sentiments about the food bank. It was my favorite out of the whole list. I think it's powerful. It's simple and direct, and it communicates exactly, what they're about, what we intend to do. And on first read, I really liked the Gates Foundation. But when you start thinking about create a world, what does that look like? It starts getting really fuzzy fast for me. So, but the others, even Thurston counties, I think are just a little too wordy, or they bring too many concepts into the same sentences that it just gets lost.
Yeah, so what I hear you saying is that the kind of punchiness matters.
Yes.
Because punchy is clear. Gary?
Yeah, I'll chime in, I guess. I think the briefer, the better. So I do like the more terse mission statements. The Washington State Historical Records Advisory Board doesn't even seem like a mission statement to me. It sounds like a job description.
Yeah, I skipped that one because I didn't want to read it all, right? I mean, that says something, right? And how successful is anyone going to be who follows you? Because, I think of you all, like many of you, when you're elected, like your role, I mean, it's true for anyone, hired or not, your role can come and go, right? And so what is it that how is this work going to continue if you're not in the room? How are people really going to understand what you do if it's just a bunch of words that don't necessarily mean anything? So very good. Yes, Cinda?
So, so agree with other comments about the importance of keeping it concise or brief. So that definitely stands out to me. But then I also think, you just shared the mission is the what we do to make the vision real and defines our focus and purpose, and the work we're doing every day. So to me, like the Washington State Historical Records Advisory Board is very long, but I think out of all of these, it is also calling out the specifics of what they do and why they do it, or like what they're trying to achieve, right? So it seems like finding the happy medium where we're able to call out specifics, but also be fairly brief seems important.
Yeah, I love that. So specific, I just added the word for my little list here is clarity. And so how can you really be clear and complete while being concise? And so finding that balance. Amazing. Any last thoughts on that? Yeah, Jody.
Hey, this is Jen Freiheit, actually. I don't know why my name shows up as Jody, but she's our assistant director. I was just going to suggest that if there are pieces, in order to not keep it long, but there's pieces that don't want to be missed, they can always be strategies which come under the vision. The mission is how you achieve the vision, and then the strategies are how you achieve the mission. So they can come underneath that as strategies or if they're even longer, be the goals underneath the mission. So that way you don't lose something and also don't feel like you have to cram it all into the mission.
Good thought. So some of those actions can be included as you're developing strategies and that kind of thing. And really fleshed out too. Because if you have that clarity and that action from the get-go, then you're able to kind of backfill after the fact. Other thoughts? All right, well, let's take a look at the components. So in your pre-work, you had an opportunity to reflect on pages 3 and 4, these lists. And on these lists, you had an opportunity to choose from the examples or add your own if there were things that you felt were more relevant or more to the point in each of the categories. So service, audience, benefits, purpose, and goals. And we have the next 45 minutes to identify for each of these categories the words that are most descriptive. I think depending on time and depending on conversation and the clarity that's needed on some of these, we may have Tom take it back, Tom and Leah, and do whatever magic they did the last time to compile that vision, as long as those components are there. Because I want to highlight on page 5 are some examples of formats where it's just really those components can be kind of filled in the blanks, and depending on what is most relevant, what is most concise, what is most clear, what is most specific, all those things that you're talking about, most actionable, all those things that you just mentioned, having the format that fits that. So it may include more of the components or less of the components depending on where we get. Everybody follow all that? All right, beautiful. So Leah, if it works, if you can bring up the first whiteboard that we have. And not the first one. I guess it's kind of our third one. So Leah's going to get us there. And if you would, you can see all of these sections, all these components are listed in the whiteboard across. And Leah's going to give us a tour. We're going to start with audience. So there are those from the list. Leah did this amazing work to put these on here. These are from the list. I want you, if you would, to add to the existing stickies or add additional stickies with any of the ads that you had, anything that you have to define audience differently. And thinking about audience is the people that you do engage with to do the work that you do. So who is impacted most by the mission, the what? Who needs to know the what?
Are we adding stickies? Are we putting check marks?
Just stickies right now, because I'm thinking if anybody has any ads, we want to make sure we get those captured first.
Perfect.
Nicely done. You look like a bunch of pros. All right, any other ads there? I see some extra stickies, but I don't see any words going in there. So if you're having struggles with words, click into the sticky. That's how you add your text. And I wanted to highlight this for you. You see general public is extra big. This is not weighted. General public is not like, pick this one, it's in the center and it's got the big words, right? No, it is just because that's what it does. As the more you write, the smaller the font gets. So I wanted to make sure, there you go, make it tiny so the font's the right size. Yeah, I mean, it's just the nature of it. So beautiful. Okay, so if you would, reflecting on that conversation that we just had about what's meaningful to include in the what of a mission statement, the what you're doing, so this is the who you're doing the what for. Go ahead and add those check marks to the ones that you want to, that you choose, that you select. Choose one. Add one check mark. Again, if you're not sure about how to do that, find the smiley face either on the left, either on the screen where you can see it, or click on those three dots and then find the smiley face, and awesome. Everybody have their vote in? And how about anybody raise your hand if you're not there yet? And raise your hand, I guess, with the button on the screen, because I can't see you all right now on my screen. All right, so I'll trust that everyone's done. It looks like we have a candidate for a winner, and that is the whole community, especially those impacted by homelessness and housing insecurity. How does that one fit for everyone? Anyone object to that one or want to lobby for another place of a check mark? No. Feels like it captures kind of that clarity. All right, thumbs up. And you can do the maybe react down below. Maybe not. I don't know if the react function's set up for us. But good. Does that sound like the right audience for you all? Awesome. All right. And so what we're going to do, it's not, this isn't written in stone now. We are going to, we'll move it forward and look at it as part of the mission statement as a whole. Danny.
Yeah, I just want to say that I think that is the right audience for us, because when I think about this, I think it's like who are the ultimate people who are going to benefit most directly from the work that we do here. And I think there are other really important audiences on there also, but as Jen mentioned, there can be strategies below this that show how we engage those other audiences, such as service providers and regional policymakers.
Perfect. And I love that point, Danny. And the good news is that Leah and Tom are the owners of this. And so you will have access to this. So you're not losing anything that you're documenting here. And so you can come back to this and use this to build out some of those strategies and plans as you move forward. Is everybody good to move on to the next group? All right, beautiful. So our tour will take us over to service, and same process, same activity, and hopefully Leah's able to make it move over there. I know mine is a double, yeah, there you go. Or the little grab hand thing, but beautiful, nicely done. Very smooth too, Leah, nice. It wasn't, it was a quiet move over, so that was great.
Leah, could you move it over back to the screen right just a little bit?
Yeah, and Carolyn, I'm thinking that you're on a smaller screen, like on a phone or something. You might find the zoom in function helpful to you to see different areas.
Okay. Actually, I'm finding I can manipulate it. I'm on an iPad, and
Okay.
so I can do that now. I didn't think I could.
Okay. Yep. And 2 fingers usually on the iPad.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. No, happy to make it work for everybody. That's great. So let's look at service. And service is really about the thing that you're doing now. Like, what is the thing, not next, not later, future, but what are you doing now? What are the services that you're providing? So go ahead and add any that you have that aren't, where your service that you believe is the what of this group. Go ahead and include new stickies for that, and then we'll vote in a second when everybody has theirs up. And these are longer. I appreciate it's more of a read if you weren't able to get to the pre-work, because it was just last week that you got all these. So I'm glad I don't have to pick. Some really good ads. Anybody still needing typing time? If you'd click the hand button,
Yeah, I just need like maybe 45 more seconds.
please. And others can be picking as you're seeing Emily's new ad, and then others, the rest of the screen. Give it a good review. You can be thinking about what your vote's going to be. And for those who are reading and not typing, if you see some that are redundant, if you would overlap those, just so, just grab that sticky and set it on top of the other one, just so it doesn't dilute the votes. I should have said that on the last group. I don't think it mattered, but there were 2 that were the same. And if you'll miss the volume of voting. Are you good, Emily? Okay.
Yeah, there's like 3 that do that, but how do you grab them again?
You should just be able to click on it and then just move it. So I'm doing that right now to this one. And we can look, depending on the votes, we can look at the ones that might have better wording, like which words you like best. But if the concept is there. All right, doesn't look like anything's moving anymore. So go ahead and do the smiley face check mark choice. Which one, and I know it's going to take you a minute maybe to decide which one, since there's a lot here and lots of words. But finding the one that really connects to the service that you believe is the work of this group, that gets your what taken care of, the actions.
And we're just supposed to vote once?
Yeah, just one vote. Yeah.
Okay.
Another minute for voting. All right, I don't see any new ones popping up. So it looks like the top vote getter, if I'm reading it right, is that one in the upper left. Yep, that zone. Yep. So the make funding recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners, identify and recommend funding, another one about funding. So it feels like, what are your thoughts? Hearing that the majority of people, albeit 3, said funding is really what you're about as the number one service.
This feels like a little bit too spread out, like voting wise, to really make a determination. I do see 4 votes on this one because there's this, oh, it tells me that it's Michael who did that one. There's like the little green
Oh, that little thing.
box in the corner.
Okay, so there are 4.
Oh, am I using the wrong type of check mark?
That's fine.
Yeah, there's 2 like little mini green check marks on there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look, Michael, I should have clarified that. There's a section that's called stamps. And so I was suggesting the stamp check mark, not another check mark. So there are many, many images and all kinds of things that you could have used. But I think for clarity, probably the check mark was the easiest.
I'll use that. I'll click the different one next time.
No worries. No worries. So the other candidates of vote getters are processes and policies for shared resources, serve as a forum to discuss policy coordination. And then that down bottom right corner, address homelessness and affordable housing, establish a pathway to affordable housing. So focusing on that, creating a central hub for housing information and services. So what are your thoughts hearing all of those? How do you choose what your service is?
Well, first, somebody is in a noisy room. I'm wondering if they could shut off their mic because it's distracting. Don't mean to sound grumpy, but this is hard. I mean, when the Regional Housing Council actually succeeded a body that went through various iterations and names, but its main role was to establish priorities for state and federal funds and do the process for seeking proposals from service organizations and then selecting grant recipients for those funds. So that, I think, kind of remains kind of the core of our work. But I hate to be limited by that because we could still be that same committee. I think we had bigger ambitions with starting this group, and I think it's just hard to stick with just that.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to limit yourselves, and you want to reflect what it is that you're going to be doing. And so really having that clarity is going to be important. Yes, Cinda.
The bottom right cluster, I wanted to put a check mark there, but I feel like it's very like only housing focused and not a whole lot about homeless response, and I feel like that's not really complete. I think this upper left cluster around funding feels like kind of like as Carolyn said, like that's been the history and that feels really comfortable. But then it doesn't, this is what we do, yes. And for me, if we're identifying like this is a primary service, this kind of funding aspect, I personally am left with this kind of like lingering thought or like unsettledness, right? Around the jurisdictions have done so much work for like our housing action plans, and we're coordinating all on our growth management and our comp plans. And I feel like if we're just limiting ourselves to funding, like the jurisdictions are already working together in other ways. And this doesn't feel like it captures, and they're not working like together, like officially as Regional Housing Council, but it does seem like there's some overlap. So just to me, it feels like I want more, and I'm just not seeing anything that like resonates here.
I love that. So I have a thought, but let's hear from Erica first, and I'll propose a thought that might spark something. So Erica, please.
Yeah, I guess I would just say that my observation is this kind of shows everyone's individual backgrounds and needs for the jurisdiction that they work in. And so maybe it could show some of our strengths or, some of our, again, our needs for the individual jurisdictions and coming together and maybe potentially coordination on different things, maybe because like for me, some of these things I'm not super familiar with or I don't have a lot of experience in. So I guess, it's just a great way to kind of see how we differentiate in our roles and capacities for housing.
Yeah, almost like if you live in Washington State, you're supposed to be rooting for the Mariners since they're the ones going to the playoffs now. But that you may not have any interest in baseball. It's just you live here and that's what you're supposed to, that's what you know. I get that's what you're saying. What's familiar? I wonder, you use the word strengths, and I wonder, connecting back to Casper's comment, is there something that you would do with your strengths that would be an action? And the action that would be true, I was going to offer also the getting back to your funding, policy, and advocacy as those activities that you have. Is there an action that is a strength of this group coming together that is unique really to this group, because that's another characteristic about a good mission statement, that you really do exceptionally well, that's going to bring you the most success, that's really about that accountability that Casper was referencing, that accountability and action focused. Yeah, Nicholas, please.
Yes, I was raising the wrong hand on the screen for like 10 minutes, then realized what I was doing wrong.
Oh no.
I know I'm going to go against probably a lot of people's thoughts in here, but I actually think the least important thing, and probably the thing that we probably shouldn't do, is actually the funding side of things, because I just don't think we have the oversight capability on where that money is going. And then on top of that, when you start becoming kind of a funding source recommendation, the whole organization kind of focuses around that. I actually think that policy discussion and coordination between the cities and is a much more effective, utilization for the Regional Housing Council. And I think that would be, in my opinion, a much better direction for it to go in. So I don't expect a lot of people to agree with me on that, but that's just where I'm coming from.
Thank you, Nicholas. Yeah, so the idea of if it's not in your scope of influence, then probably shouldn't be the service that you're providing, because you're always going to be challenged to make that happen. I wonder, two words came to my mind, and thinking back also with Erica's strengths word, coordination and collaboration. It seems like that is something that you all, because of who you represent, that you all have. I mean, that is something that is really powerful. I won't say unique about this group, but really powerful about you, is that you're representing Thurston County. Is there an action word, and maybe Casper, you need to come up with the word, but a word that captures that accountability, that action, the doing, that is the service, that is about you collaborating and coordinating? Do those words resonate? I don't want to, Casper, please.
I don't know if navigating is the right word, but just echoing a similar, just echoing a concern that I've heard from a lot of different people about services not being coordinated across regions, and how powerful it could be to be in communication with other counties and neighboring cities to navigate challenges. And if funding is a conversation in that, I think that could be great. And that being a subset of coordination for services to navigate based on what needs might be.
Awesome. So adding the word navigating, really in connection with that idea of collaboration and coordination. So kind of the, and then having the funding policy and advocacy coming below that, and that being those activities that are done. Is that right? Nice. Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks,
Yeah,
Casper.
It sort of seems to me that collaborating and coordinating are less of the surface and more of the way we achieve the thing. And like, I wonder if it's more like we're eliminating housing instability and homelessness by collaborating and coordinating and through regional partnerships or something along those lines, because like this is supposed to be what we're doing, which is reducing, or we could be bold and say eliminating housing instability and homelessness by whatever means we want to say, whether that's regional, whether that's recommending funding, or just if you keep it broad for like regional partnerships, that could include both recommending funding as well as policy work or some of the more ambitious things that we haven't necessarily delved into as an organization quite yet.
I think that's a great thought, Michael. And would you consider drafting that just on a piece of paper for yourself, and either just looking at the time, because I'm holding that awareness, that may be something to that will that could move forward when we get to the end of these. If you're not like me, you might not remember what you just said, but I think people, that word eliminate was resonant for people in previous conversations. So I think that sounds like a great word to include. And then the what it is that you do well. And so that collaboration and regional, those capturing those kind of concepts, I think that's brilliant. Why don't we just kind of put a little pin in services and move to benefits and goals? And partly because it may be that services shouldn't be included in the mission statement. It's possible that benefits or goals might be more relevant, might be more of what you're trying to accomplish in your what, and services, opportunity for more conversation about that. Definitely building some of those. So those who are adding, please, I'm just going to keep talking, but please feel free to add your stickies. You guys are getting to be pros at all this. So add those new stickies with your ads in the benefits of this group. In your what are the benefits that are going to serve the mission? And serving the what? How is it benefiting the audience? Services may end up being more part of those strategy discussions. It might not be something that you want to emphasize in your mission statement, because what you're doing may not be as relevant to guiding your work as these benefits and then goals. So I'm saying those together, but let's stick with benefits first, and then we'll do the same activity for goals. And as you're adding, if you see where yours fit with someone else's, if you want to stack those again. Thanks for all the work you're doing there, Leah. Keeping it tidy and collected. That's amazing. All right, let's go ahead and vote. Pick your check mark, and no worries, whichever one you want to pick. You can see the stamp one is a little easier to see.
Yeah, I did it wrong again.
Oh, no worries. And you can click on it and delete it if you want to, if you want to give it a go. Up to you. Your secret vote is no more though, because now we know.
Are we just voting once?
Vote once, yes, please. Again, I'm glad I'm not voting because so many great things to do and that you could choose from. All right, last minute. So the multi-vote getter was maximize effectiveness of the, I can't read it, but some regional response to homelessness. Anyone object to that one being the one that moves forward? Michael says thumbs up. All right, that looks like a great one. So well done. Oh, clapping hands, love it. I'm on my laptop, so it's everything's a little small for me too. So beautiful. All right, so goals. Anything that is an add for you in the goals section? Or purpose, I'm sorry, purpose, then goals. Your purpose to recommend, pursue, I mean, these are great words. Establish, develop, advocate, facilitate, share, coordinate, identify, set goals and targets. Ooh, align. That's a cool word. Strategize. All right. So I see a check mark added already, so go for it. What is the purpose of this group? What's the purpose of this group that gets you to your what? All right, last minute. It looks like coordinate is our winner here. Anyone object to coordinating coordinate, coordination, any of those words being the word that gets used. And I wonder, perhaps in, with a time with the thesaurus, there might be a more plain language word that is a little more punchy, like we were talking about before. Which, like for instance, not so punchy, but teamwork or gathering or some kind of word like that. Does that change for you, the meaning, if it's if the word is a little more engaging or clear, kind of those definitions that we had earlier? The guiding principles. Yeah.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry, Sue. Sorry, Casper.
Yeah. Just, is there something that might be coordinate that's a little more in that punchy kind of expressive language? And Casper was thinking of one. It looked like maybe.
No, I was actually going to say that I think coordinate's a great word.
Okay.
Michael's explanation earlier and coordination and with services and regional housing, I thought was great.
Awesome.
Yeah, I agree with Casper. I think you start sliding off the meaning of coordinate and you lose the message.
Yeah. Yeah, and what a great thing for you all to do, to coordinate and to that's to make things happen. So yeah, fabulous. All right. So if gone, if that's good for you, we'll move on to the last category, and that's goals. So any ads for your goals? Last minute for your ads. All right, so go ahead and vote if you would. And you can keep adding if you have another one, if you're still ready to type. But let's go ahead and get a vote. All right, well, it looks like it is decreasing homelessness and increasing affordability of housing. Anyone find that challenging at all, or does that feel like the goal of your group? Yeah, Emily.
I really like this concept, but I feel like it means something different depending on who you're talking to. So that's one concern that I might have, because this goal is something that I've heard a lot of people say, but then, through conversations, I learned that it means something different. I guess I know I'm repeating myself, but I just worry about that a little bit.
Is it really that the word affordability or supply? Or are those the kind of because it seems like decrease homelessness, is that straightforward, but is it more the supply and the
I think the supply is the bigger piece, but I think both, because decreasing homelessness also kind of means something different to different people. For some people, it's just arrest everyone who's trespassing, and for others, it's like, let's address the root causes and provide support. But I think the bigger issue is the affordable housing supply. People on all sides of this issue define that differently. And even some folks who are like developers or part of the building community have started shifting language to like attainable housing and other things like that, where they were using affordable housing before, but sometimes and not just developers, but a lot of people, sometimes when I kind of challenge that idea of like, what does affordable housing actually mean to you? What population, what AMI are you hoping to, target with this project? And people don't know how to answer that question. So they've just shifted away from that language instead, so that I don't know why, but to me, it feels like it's a way to avoid having to explain or understand what it actually means.
So proposing, is the word accessibility a swap out to increase housing accessibility? Just wondering if that makes it less about supply and less about dollar values.
I don't really know. I think I'd be interested to hear what other people think, because for me, I like affordable housing you can define it very specifically. And I think that that's important to hone in on. Especially if like the Regional Housing Council if we said it was for affordable housing supply, and we all had an understanding together of what that means, then that could be part of the education for the community. I kind of feel, I have mixed feelings on it, but part of me is concerned about the shift away from the word affordable and into words like accessible and attainable, because those also mean something different to everybody. So yeah, it just really depends who you're talking to.
Yeah, that sounds like it's getting at that people have the ability to have houses because they have the money to have houses or housing. So maybe it's not the supply so much as the impact to the people, maybe, I don't know. And not to muddy the waters, but Yacinda.
I'm wondering, I can't remember a few years ago when we established the RHC, it seems like there was an effort by tech team at least to define some of the language, and I can't remember now the pathway that is where that went, if it needs to be updated. Am I just remembering something? Did that happen in this forum or in some other way? But it seems like at some point there were some definitions that is kind of aside, related to this conversation, that maybe we need to also revisit those. And then I think also for saying accessible or attainable, to me, that opens the door for talking about market rate housing. And that is something that our funding sources specifically can't support. So whether we say affordable or define it in some other way, I think it needs to get at, tying back to what the funding, assuming, we still want to do funding recommendations and funding of stuff. The funding sources have a very specific use that they're allowed for with that 80% or below area median income. And with most of the funding sources focusing on that 60% or less area median income.
So it sounds like there maybe some historical record that I don't know if that would be a Tom and Leah thing, but maybe there's some access to something that might give some clarity. I also wonder if, in listening to you all, if there is words that you would add that would help to define, like bringing in the word everyone, for instance, like you have that word already. So, you know, housing that's affordable for everyone in Thurston County. I wonder if there's a way to address it that isn't changing the word, since that's important for your funders. But I wonder if there's a way to address it otherwise. So this was amazing, and I knew that we might push up against the time, and we did. So we really need to stop here. Is there something, anything that we can add or clarify for this last goal before we close this conversation about mission?
And I think, I don't want to speak for the chair, but I think we probably can go another, I mean, we technically until 6. So I know we need to wrap up a few minutes early, but I think we can go another 5 minutes if that's okay with the chair.
Definitely. Yeah, thanks, Tom.
So I
Fabulous.
don't know if you want to look at kind of what we've,
Yeah. Well, you want to slide us over there, and if you have, you keep thinking about any of those services or the goals that were a little more challenging. But as we were talking, we had some magic happening. And so Tom behind the scenes was moving the cards over to the category areas. And so the mission, those formats could be the way that you could plug words in to have them flow together to make them into your mission statement. So for instance, the first one, a service. Anyone want to choose the service that feels most compelling? Yeah, please, Emily.
I just think these are all very, very different. So I'm not sure how we hone in. This might be kind of the crux of where the conversation kind of feels like it might get stuck. At least in the past. So these are very different services, and all of them are important.
I wonder if we take another word, for instance, like coordinate. We could move this one, coordinate, and say coordinate services for the whole community, especially those impacted by homelessness and housing insecurity, so that we maximize our effectiveness, the effectiveness of a regional response to homelessness. I don't know that we can wrap this up in 5 minutes. I mean, I think we can explore and consider. And I wonder, Tom, can you talk about what process you followed after the retreat to really bring that vision?
Yeah, so what we did is after the retreat, the tech team took these and did some wordsmithing. So one option is the tech team could, you know, based on what's here, try to put these into maybe 3 or 4 different sample mission statements. I think kind of using these formats, you know, looking at how to use the purpose and goals maybe instead of the services, because I think you're right, and Commissioner Klaus is right. There's such a wide variety there. I don't think we're able to just pick one service to list in the mission statement, at least just my opinion. But I think maybe the tech team could spend a little time with these stickies and come up with 2, 3, 4 different options that we could bring back in October. And so maybe the October meeting could spend the first a little bit on mission before we move into the values discussion. If that is acceptable to folks.
Carolyn, I don't know if you're asking me or Tom, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, I appreciate Tom's offer, and I think we're such an unusual organization that it's really hard for us to fit into the blanks here. So I think the tech team perhaps may be able to figure out a way to honor what you're trying to do here and still make it work for what this group is.
Yeah, that sounds like a fantastic proposal. Anyone, I don't know if Commissioner Klaus has a vote on it or anything like that. If you, I don't know what your process is, but I did capture all of those, what makes a mission statement, those characteristics. And so holding those as the tech team has that, and Leah may have captured them too, or Tom, but considering those as well in shaping that that mission statement.
Yeah, thanks, Sue. I think that Tom's recommendation is a good path forward. We can just kind of maybe turn this back over to the tech team until the next meeting and they can come back with some suggestions. I think that worked well for the vision. And I really appreciate everyone's participation. I know this went late, and I just really appreciate everyone staying engaged throughout the whole thing. I think this has been a really good conversation and the tech team can kind of wordsmith some things and bring it back. And maybe once we all have time to kind of think through this and let it settle and process all of it, we might come back with some ideas next time. So I think that would be great for the tech team.
Well, thanks again for the opportunity to be with you all. I think it was really inspiring and really fascinating to see what you came up with and really the opportunities for impact that you all have. So thank you again for your time shared with me.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Sue. All right. Well, I see some people are hopping off. I know it's late. That was the last thing on our agenda besides good of the order. So do we have any items for good of the order that anyone would like to share?
Not here.
All right. I will just give a quick shout out to Elisa for the newsletter draft. That was really great. So y'all should see a newsletter coming out relatively soon. And special thanks to Elisa for putting that together. Don't mean to put you on the spot, but I really appreciate it. Otherwise, I don't have anything else and I don't see anybody with their hand raised. So we can call this meeting adjourned at 5:54. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.